Feature race Sandown, Scilly Novices Chase.
Leopardstown, Dublin Racing Festival, Goffs, Irish Arkle.
Paddy Power, Irish Gold Cup base. Leopardstown, Labrokes Novice Chase, 2 mile Ireland Novice Hurdle. Leopardstown, Labrokes Dublin Chase, 2 mile Irish Champion Hurdle. The newbie nap tip. Are you ready?
What's it?
Strap yourself in. Always a pleasure.
I've enjoyed it.
Right, should we go then?
I know what the edit's like, so I'm not saying anything.
Any power at the last race down. Any power at Scotland in front of the last left. Melody Light by the first time. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely. Roger Lockwood and Hoyt Noya.
For Archibald, Paddy who's got defensive title, but Archibald is flat out in second. Then in third, now White Ryan is beginning to come. He's drifting off a trigger line. He's flying. Now this must be home. Gonna win his fourth Betfair Chase, and Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
Welcome to a bonus episode of Tailedoff podcast. For curious newbies like me, or those looking to sharpen their skills, we're here to guide you through it all. Today, we are looking ahead at the preview of the weekends. You'll hear from Elle and Duncan on their picks, and also you'll hear from me on the Newbies pick. Not quite sure you're that excited about the Newbies pick, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Let's get cracking. Elle, I'll come to you. What were we saying? Sandown?
Yeah, so we'll start at Sandown, probably the only decent race in Britain to talk about this weekend. There was a bit of a worry earlier in the week that the actual whole meeting could be off. Obviously, there's been loads of rain. Sandown, for those of you that don't know, is a dual-purpose course, so they run on a flat in the summer and over jumps in the winter, which means they chuck bucket loads of water on during the summer, so that when it comes to the winter and we get the rain that we've had, it's like a quagmire.
I was reading it with Duncan, and it said heavy, and I was like, well, it hasn't rained for a couple of days.
Yeah, but it's always like the starting point is pretty heavy. They do have a chase track which isn't touched in the summer, so that you can always get slightly better ground over fences. But good news is today is that they've passed an inspection. They were preparing to have maybe just all chase races. As I say, that is the better course. But the clerk of the course, Andrew Cooper, reckons that all systems go for the full card, which is good. But we've fallen into that trap before because Duncan and I were meant to go to Sandown first weekend in Jan. Andrew Cooper said everything was fine. Next day, bins are all
Screwed us.
And it's exactly what we said on the first podcast around late cancellations.
Yeah.
The feature race of the day at Sandown is the Scilly Novices Chase. So this is a grade 1 for the novices, and this is over 2.5 miles. So used to be a good marker for the old Turner's Novice Chase at the festival, which is now gone. But no doubt that some of these horses probably will be turning up somewhere at the festival. Annoyingly, a bit of a small field. We were thinking we might see Perry Pass come over for Willie Mullins. He is going to stay at home. More on that later. So it leaves us with 4 runners. Bar the absolute rag, Mark Gold. Good luck to them. The other 3 have got, all got a good chance. So, if you've strongly fancied one of the others, wouldn't put you off. I just have this anti-Nichols thing going on at the minute. So I just think I can't bring myself to
Personal grudge.
Yeah. Can't tip myself to tip Caliph de Burley, although it would be the so Nichols thing to go and win that, and then egg on your face all round. But
2 fingers up, I suppose.
Exactly. Leaves you with the other 2 handstands for Ben Paulin, who's obviously had some bad news this week. We covered in the pod about the jukebox man sadly getting injured. He's obviously won a couple of races over fences after falling on his first start. He deserves his place in this lineup, but the race he won at Sandown earlier in the season was over 3 miles, which probably will help with the stamina side of things. But the horses he beat that day, Resplendent Grey and St Davy, they're kind of a bit below this level. And the race he won last time at Fosterlas, we already said when we reviewed it, completely fell apart, so might flatter him a little bit. So it's not really a sexy pick, but I just think Django Bay's the most solid. He probably wasn't the best of these over hurdles, but won pretty easily in his debut over fences at Cheltenham. Beat a horse called Springwell Bay, which absolutely bolted up off a mark of 145 on New Year's Day, and he's a shade of odds on, which is a little skinny, but he's a selection for me in the first race we'll look at Sandown.
Lovely. And you agree with that, Duncan, as well?
I do. I think I was stolen my notes. Yeah, exactly the same. Agreed with Elle after Perry came out. For me, it was just Django, exactly for what Elle said. Springwell Bay franked the form after he finished second to Django last time out by winning by, I think it was about 6.5 lengths. And if you look as well at the ratings of them currently, because obviously they're running off level weights in the race, and Django's rated at 153, where Handstands is at 144. Now, so that would mean there's obviously 9 points or £9 between them. So if they're running in a handicap, like we spoke about the other day, Django would be £9 higher in the weights than handstands, but because they're running off level weights, you look at that and go, based on that, Django should win easily. But never doesn't always work out
Claim.
like that. But I agree.
Claim.
Fans of it.
Not at 10 to 11. I mean, if it's, I'm wondering if Bet365 might do a super boost on it. In which case, tell me more.
Cherries will be on.
Very much.
All right, shall we continue with Duncan yourself? We'll go to Leopardstown. We'll come back to Sandown later.
Yeah, so Leopardstown, obviously, they start the DRF, the Dublin Racing Festival, kicks off. I think on the opening day they have 4 grade 1s, 4 or 5 grade 1s,
Oh, wow.
a couple of listeds and a grade 2. It's just ridiculous. It's just like Cheltenham, basically, but in Ireland. And the race we're first starting to look at is the Goffs Irish Arkle, which is the grade 1 they have there, which has, I think it's over 2 miles 1. And it's got Margeborough, who's been turned out against, I think it's Ilantique, if I say the name right, hopefully. So both Willie Mullins at the top of the market. What a surprise. Say again.
You bad butchered that.
I did, didn't I? What did I say? What have I done?
Ilantique.
Ilantique.
French.
Yeah, so Margeborough, I think second favourite for the Arkle behind Sagino. I mean, very, very short price in the market, and it'd be interesting to see tactics for me between the top two, because I think in the last race they both came prominently, pretty much made all, I think. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in this time, how tactics are played out. But I'm happy to sit and kind of watch. Probably at the prices, I'd probably favour, if I can get the name right, Ilantique, just because, Marlborough's odds on 4 to 6, and I think it was about 10 to 3, so it was a bit of a drift on that one. So I think at the prices, I'd probably go for that.
All right. El, you agree with that?
Yeah, I thought Duncan was going to tip the jolly, so fair enough. I think I largely agree. I think Marlborough's kind of a bit of a talking horse, which is a strange expression in horse racing because they obviously can't talk.
Oh, really? All right, that's good to know.
So you learn a lot on this podcast. Breaking news: horses don't talk. He obviously won the Triumph pretty impressively. I did back him that day, which lives long in the memory. But he'd only had the one start over fences. He was very impressive, as Duncan said, kind of pretty much making all the running. Ilantique was kind of an okay hurdler, but and this can happen quite a lot. Horses that are built for fences, they don't show their best form over hurdles because they kind of get in the way of themselves a little bit, and they need a proper obstacle to show their best ability. That looks to be the case with this one. He absolutely destroyed them from the front. He's a bit of a big beast of a horse, and I don't think the ground's going to be too tested at Leopardstown. That's the only concern. I think he would want a good bit of dig in the ground, but he's won at the course before, and I think he'll have the stamina if they go strong up front. And as Duncan said, it's all about price with this. I couldn't be touching 4 to 7 about Margeborough, so Ilantique to make us 2 from 2 for the podcast, hopefully.
Alrighty, fingers crossed. And it's saying, what is it saying at the moment? Soft, going
Yielding.
soft. At the moment.
They call it yielding in Ireland, so that's another thing that they have there.
The Irish
Okay,
do
brilliant.
what they want.
Of course,
Yeah.
we've got another name for that. Of
Yeah.
course. All right, let's carry on, El, with you. Then on Saturday, we've got Leopardstown, 3 mile, Paddy Power, Irish, Gold Cup, Chase, grade 1.
Brackets grade 1.
Brackets, grade 1.
We have indeed, and it's good to see a decent field for this, because one thing you'll see over the weekend at Leopardstown is 2 main things. Willie Mullins pretty much has the whole field, with a few sprinklings of Gordon Elliot and the odd maybe de Bromhead horse. But last year he actually won all. There's 8 grade 1s, as Duncan said, 4 on the first day, 2nd on the Sunday. He won all 8 of them last year, which is just ridiculous. And to be honest, I know that's the domination of Willie Mullins we're dealing with. And to be honest, looking at the prices of the runners for the weekend,
It happened again.
probably going to happen again. Yeah.
It's going to happen again. He's played it down. I heard his comments the other day, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm not sure it can happen. Lightning will strike twice. I'm like, have you seen the prices that you've got and the horses you've got going into these things? It's ridiculous.
Because the thing is, he's not just got he's only got one favourite. He's got
Yeah.
most of them in
Every single one of them, I think, is favourite. Like, I don't think he has everything in the grade 1s are his favourites.
Yeah. So I wonder what price that would be. I would be quite interested.
Go through all 8.
All 8 again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But as that theme continues into the Gold Cup, which is definitely the best race on Saturday, he's got the front 2 in the market, and they've locked heads a couple of times already this season. Back to File got the better of Galloping de Champs over a much shorter trip, 2.5 miles, in the John Durkin at Punchestown, but Gallopin always needs that as a bit of a prep for his bigger race targets. He's absolutely mustard at Leopardstown. He's obviously won a couple of Gold Cups, so can handle Cheltenham, but he just seems to absolutely love this place. There's just kind of a really gradual incline coming around the final bend, and it really plays to his stamina, to be honest. And he's not short pace either. You know, he's a 9-year-old now. You do think, how often is he going to keep banging out these massive performances? And at 4 to 7, you know, it would take a pretty big punter to go steaming into that price. But I just honestly can't see anything beating him. Fact to file, I mean, they're on a bit of a fact-finding mission, I think, because he obviously won the Brown Advisory at Cheltenham over 3 miles, so he does stay, but he looked like he was outstayed in the equivalent race at Christmas, and he was so keen that he's not helping himself finish his races. So there's every chance if he fades again here, he probably will go to the Ryanair and not the Gold Cup, although JP obviously loves a runner in the big race at Cheltenham. So my selection would be Gallopin de Champs. I was thinking there must be something in here that we could tip each way to get third behind the top 2, because once you go outside of them, you're kind of 9-10 to on the field. Yep. But I was really struggling, to be honest. There's a few in here which are clearly being teed up for like Grand Nationals further down the line. I was kind of keen on Monty Starr because he was second behind Factifile in the Brown Advisory at Cheltenham. So he has got a bit of class, but I don't know, Duncan, if you've seen Henry de Bromhead's form or lack of form lately. I think he's won 33 runners in the last 2 weeks.
Doesn't look great, yeah.
And yeah, that would make me nervous. So probably won't put that one up, and I'll just stick with Gallopin de Champs.
Leopardstown, Labrokes, Novice Chase.
This is where we actually do see Imperi Pass, who was obviously spoken about. We thought was going to be going to Sandown. Obviously, Willie's decided no. So it's again his top 2 in the market for this. Ballyburn is odds on. Obviously won at Cheltenham last year when we had him at even monies. Was it the Turner's trip?
Yeah, it's the Gallagher novices.
Yeah, the Gallagher. That's it. So and he absolutely hosed up in that. He always seems like a stayer. For me, I mean, I've already backed him for the Brown Advisory at Cheltenham this year.
Yeah, that
what Friday?
4 to 1, I think it was. So
nice.
I'll take that. And I mean, I'm really hoping he just does the business on Sunday. Otherwise, it's going to look like a pretty toilet bet come Cheltenham Drift. But he's 8-13 on. I wouldn't back him for Sunday there at that price. But Ballyburn would be the pick.
All right, lovely. The 2 Mile Island Novice Hurdle.
Yeah, so this is more like, it wasn't necessarily a pick. It was more of something I've read earlier on in this. I mean, as Elle mentioned, that Willie Mullins brings pretty much everything to the Dublin Racing Festival, and it's no different here. He's got, out of the 12 runners, he's got over half the field. He's got 7 runners at 12. But interesting, we've got a British raider coming over with Warren Greattricks. So he's sending one over, which he was talking up and saying that, you know, conditions should suit. It's recently run in a Grade 1 over Christmas, came third, so it wasn't embarrassed by that. And he seemed pretty confident in his interview to say, you know, he thinks that he could definitely serve it up to the top 2 in the market against Mullins' other one. So it's 14s or 16s, I think, currently. So it's a potential each way angle in if you want to away from the favourites. So yeah, I will get the name of it for you shortly. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
All right. Oh, Leopardstown.
Good prep as always. That's a good prep as always.
I'll get back to you on that one. It's all right. We'll just wait on the podcast while you
take it offline.
Yeah, let's take this offline. No, we're always online. That's the whole point. Never offline. All right, let's continue Leopardstown then. Labrokes Dublin Chase, 2 Mile one.
I mean, this is another interesting race, another Grade 1. This is, as you say, the shorter trip of 2 miles. So if you like a prep race for the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Willie's got a strong handle on it again, unsurprisingly. Willie absolutely flinging it about everywhere. I absolutely love Gaelic Warrior. He was unlucky in a couple of races in his early career at Cheltenham. Finally got the job done in the Arkle, and I was buzzing because I had him anti-post at a big price. And that was like the best he'd ever looked that day, because he has this horrible tendency to sort of go out to his right. So they often tried not to run him left-handed. Does seem like that's kind of going out of his running style at the minute, which is good to see. But I was looking at this race, he's got a horrible record at Leopardstown. I mean, if you remember last year, in not this race, but in the novice race that Duncan talked about earlier, he got absolutely kicked out of the way. Was it Factifile that beat him? And he just looked all at sea. Okay, that was over slightly further. Basically, if you want to take on a favourite, you've got to look for chinks in the armour, and obviously he's the right favourite. But he's so short, I'd be looking around elsewhere. You might next come to Marine Nationale. He won the Supreme imperiously a couple of years ago, but I call him a windy horse. I mean, he has had wind issues. They tried to tongue tie on him. I think he's had at least one wind up, maybe a couple. He's trained by a mercurial guy called Barry Connell, who was an owner for a long time. Got so sick of trainers that he decided to start training himself. He doesn't have many horses, and he's a bit of a character, but he can't stop shutting up about this horse. But it's been a long time since he kind of looked top draw, and he's probably never looked top draw of fences. And then you come to Al Fabiolo, who was an absolute superstar over 2 miles, and God gave us a bit of a bad day at Cheltenham when there was basically 3 Willie Mullins favourites on the same day, and he was the third leg after the first 2 had delivered, and he was he 2-9 to win the champion chase, and he basically walked into a couple of fences, ballooned one, and then was pulled up after about the 3rd or 4th.
No.
So and he hasn't been seen since. He's obviously had some issues, but I didn't realise he's actually 3 from 3 after a long break, and actually put up in the Hillyway chase at the start of last season. He put up a figure like 170, so it just proves that he can. Wow. Some horses like to have a few runs and then they come to the best. Some horses just like loads of space between their races and then they can just give everything. And he's obviously had a long time off. I'd be a bit nervous about that. But at 8-1 currently, obviously we haven't seen the final field. I'd rather chance him, because if you knew he was back to his best, he'd probably be favourite for this race, let alone 8-1. So I'm prepared to take a chance, but with the caveats that we haven't seen him for a while, and you never know what's going to happen until they turn up. So.
Sort of untested.
Yeah.
You agree with that, Duncan?
Yeah, that's the one that I had down. Obviously, Gaelic has run once this season. He's 4-6 for the race, but he's already run against Solness, and Solness beat him last time out. But obviously, that was his first run back from a break. So it'd be interesting to see. I imagine he'll probably strip fitter for that. But again, as El said, I looked at El Fabiolo, who absolute quality horse on his day, and he's come back from a break and won before. So at 8-1, I think it's ludicrous not to have that. So yeah, El Fabiolo.
Right.
Isn't it? So Matt, you'll know that Duncan and I went over to Ireland for a little weekend away in October last year.
Yeah,
went to Sligo Racecourse. Shout out to Sligo, which is a glorified dog track, if I'm honest, in terms of a racecourse. And little old Solness was running in an absolute nothing race then, and we all backed him, and he won nicely. But if you told me that he would have then a few starts later gone and won a Grade 1 at Leopardstown at Christmas, I would never have believed you. So fair play to the little horse.
Yeah, respect. Absolutely.
Right, last one before we get on the newbie nap. I decided to call
that.
it the newbie nap. Disclaimer, it's not a nap. I'm picking it. Leopardstown, 2 mile Irish champion hurdle. Another Grade 1.
From the market that was on there, Lossiemouth is favourite.
Lossiemouth. You mentioned them was it last week? No. When did you mention that?
So Lossiemouth ran...
Yeah, she was meant to go to Cheltenham.
She was meant to go to Cheltenham last weekend, and obviously didn't because of bad weather and storms and stuff, which is fair enough. So she was kept at home, and instead is running in the Irish Champion Hurdle here. When I saw the prices of this, I could not believe it. Lossiemouth 4-7 on, and Stateman, who is the current Cheltenham, the champion hurdler, 7-4, completely flip-flopped. Yes, I mean Stateman's had 2 surprisingly bad runs in defeat this season. Lost out to Better Days Ahead, I think, last time out. Got absolutely battered by Better Days Ahead. Or Brighter Days Ahead, sorry, not Better Days Ahead. Brighter Days Ahead.
There are better days ahead if you got back.
There are better days ahead. But has won this race before. I mean, granted, this is a bit of a deeper race than it was last year, but 7-4, baffled. And it'd be interesting to see who actually takes the ride between Lossiemouth and Stateman, because obviously the main jock for Willie Mullins is Paul Townend. So, I mean, whoever he goes for is kind of, you're basically saying, okay, this is the better horse, I'm going to go for that. So yeah, I mean, it might hinge on that, but I would go at the prices. Stateman, 100%. Also, shout out that Gordon Elliot, the shithouse that he is, he had Brighter Days Ahead in for this, hasn't declared her, and is just going straight to Cheltenham. So he's missing out on this, which kind of, he was in. He had the horse booked in for the Champion Hurdle and also the mares. The fact that he's not running her here would suggest that he might be going down the mares route, although he said he's going to leave it till last minute, but. I mean, that would have been an absolutely incredible race if all 3 of them had gone to this. It's still a great race with Stateman and Lossiemouth.
All right. El, anything else to add? You agree?
Yeah, I just realised I touched my face there, so sorry, Dave.
No, I've been doing it constantly. I've been doing it constantly.
We got some feedback from El's dad that we're touching too much of our faces and itching and...
It's an insecurity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you had an itch, you'd be like, oh. Can't touch it.
I'm touching myself too much.
Moving swiftly on. I wonder whether, obviously, Gigginstown is one of the biggest ownership groups in Ireland, and that's owned by Michael O'Leary, who runs Ryanair. Ryanair. And I wonder if he's a bit preoccupied at the minute, so can't have his star horse running, because he's absolutely taking shots at the Treasury. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't, no.
In true, I thought he'd been quiet for a while, and he can't keep a good man down. Looking up on Twitter or something, he's basically done a press conference where he's just absolutely abusing the Chancellor, telling them they haven't got a clue what they're doing. So
He's not wrong.
Wouldn't say he's wrong. Yeah.
But back to the race itself. I think Duncan covered it. For me, the prices are wrong based on actual form. Everything about Lossiemouth is potential, but she was kind of underwhelming at Christmas. She did well enough to finish as close as she did to Constitution Hill in the Christmas hurdle. You know, State Man is the champion hurdler. He's won this race a couple of times. He's pretty much looked unbeatable at Leopardstown until whatever happened the last day when Brighter Days Ahead absolutely smashed him. But I agree with Duncan. I would never usually make a betting decision based on a jockey booking, but Paul Townend is in the yard every day riding these horses. He's got the pick. If he gets off the champion hurdle winner to ride Lossiemouth, then that tells you everything you need to know. But I think I will wait till the declarations, as you know, Matt, come out tomorrow around 11 o'clock midday. Wait to see what happens then. And if Paul Townend does go with Lossiemouth, I think that's probably a tip in itself. But absolutely respect what Duncan says. State Man should be a lot shorter than he is.
On to the newbie nap tip. Are you ready?
What's this?
Strap yourself
Yeah,
in. I mean, this is my second attempt, because my first attempt, Duncan quite rightly pointed out that I was looking at a race that had 4 runners in, so it's not necessarily the best the best nap.
Chance of a winner there, mate.
Well, you know,
21%
exactly. I
chance.
like those odds.
65% of the time it works every time.
I've gone for Sandown 1507 on Saturday. Class 1, there's 13 runners, and I'm picking Major Fortune. There's a few reasons. One, trainer and form.
I was absolutely bamboozled.
No.
You think I'm
I picked
busy?
this on our first ever podcast, didn't I?
Bullshit.
Oh, he may have done.
All right, well, I'm not picking it based on... I've not listened to podcasts and picked this, but now you completely undermine the nap, but whatever. Anyway,
Go on.
so I was looking at heavy ground. That was the first thing I was looking at. It's going to be heavy. So I looked at, okay, not the Fav. I don't really like picking the Fav. I like to pick an outsider. Major Fortune. He's won he's done a couple of races quite well on heavy ground, and he's won 2 of them on heavy ground. Now, the only thing is it's class 4. This is a class 2, class 3. But yeah, 1 on heavy ground, 1 at distance. Trainer Dan Skelton looks on form. He came 6th the second to last race. Looked like he was doing okay, but tailed off. So that's a sign. But I think it's a horseshoe that came loose or something. So that sort of, sort of erased that result. So Major Fortune for the win. What do you think?
I'm just so proud of you, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know the price. Sorry, I don't know the price.
12 to 1.
I can't watch
12 to 1 I can see in front of me, bet 365.
10 to 1.
Yeah, out from 6 to 1. Is that since you've tipped
Brilliant.
it?
Get him on.
Maybe that's the effect that I've had.
Yeah, the pod's not even live yet and it's already drifting.
Cash
Right,
out.
that's a wrap. Hope you like the tips, guys. Drop your thoughts in the comments for anything you'd like to hear about next time. Please share, like, and subscribe. Until next time, have fun out there and try not to get tailed off. Cheers.
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 All right, from here, but I know it's probably just a pajamas top, isn't
Yeah, it does.
it? His face is fuming.
Go on then.
Get him on.
Position. Any power at the last flies down. Any power has gone, but in front of the last length. Melody Light the first time. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely. Roger Lockwood and Hoyt for it.
For Archibald, Paddy who's got defends his title. From Archibald, who flattened out in second. Then in third, and White is beginning to come. He's drifting off a true line. He hangs fire, and this was coming home. Gonna win his 4th Betfair Chase, and